I was experiencing consciously for the first time that transformation in which the living, by dying, pass into the living, and I was full of grief and love and wonder. And so, when I came out of the house one morning after breakfast and found Bramer Hardy sitting in his pickup truck in front of my barn, I wasn't expecting any news. Bramer was an old friend of my father's. He was curious to see what Flora and I would do with the long-abandoned Harford place that we had bought and were fixing up, and sometimes he visited. His way was not to go to the door and knock. He just drove in and stopped his old truck at the barn and sat looking around until somebody showed up. "Well, you ain't much of a catlet," he said in perfect good humor. "Marse Catlet would have been out and gone 2 hours ago." "I do my chores before breakfast," I said, embarrassed by the lack of evidence. My grandfather Catlet would in fact have been out and gone 2 hours ago. "But," Bramer said in an explanatory tone, as if talking to himself, "I reckon your daddy is a late sleeper, being as he's an office man. But that Wheeler was always a shotgun once he got out," he went on, clearly implying, and still in excellent humor, that the family line had reached its nadir in me. "But maybe you're a right smart occupied of a night. I don't know." He raked a large cud of tobacco out of his cheek with his forefinger and spat. He looked around, with the air of a man completing an inspection, which is exactly what he was doing. "Well, it looks like you're making a little headway. You got it looking some better. Here," he said, pawing among a litter of paper, tools, and other odds and ends on top of the dashboard, and then on the seat beside him. "I brought you something." He eventually forcepped forth an old newspaper page folded into a tight rectangle the size of a wallet, and handed it through the truck window. "You ought to have it. It ain't no good to me. The madam, you know, is hell for an antique. She bought an old desk at a sale, and that was in one of the drawers." I unfolded the paper and read the headline. "Ben Feltner, friend to all, shot dead in Port William." "Ben Feltner was your great-granddaddy." "Yes, I know. I remember him. He was fine as they come. They never made him no finer. The last man on earth you'd have thought would get shot." "So I've heard." "Thad Coulter was a good kind of feller, too, far as that goes. I don't reckon he was the kind you thought would shoot somebody, either." He pushed his hat back and scratched his forehead. "One of them things," he said. "They happen." He scratched his head some more and propped his wrist on top of the steering wheel, letting the hand dangle. "Tell you," he said, "there ain't a way in this world to know what a human creature is going to do next. I loaned a feller $500 once. He was a good feller, too. Wasn't a thing wrong with him. Far as I knew, I liked him. And dogged if he didn't kill himself 'fore it was a week." "Killed himself?" I said. "Killed himself," Bramer said. He meditated a moment, looking off at his memory of the fellow, and wiggling 2 of the fingers that hung over the steering wheel. "Don't you know," he said, "not wishing him no bad luck, but I wished he'd a done it a week or 2 sooner." I laughed. "Well," he said, "I know you want to be at work. I'll get out of your way." I said, "Don't be in a hurry." But he was starting the truck and didn't hear me. I called, "Thanks," as he backed around. He raised his hand, not looking at me, and drove away, steering with both hands with large, deliberate motions as if the truck were the size of a towboat. There was an upturned feed bucket just inside the barn door. I sat down on it and unfolded the paper again. It was the front page of the Hargrave Weekly Express, flimsy and yellow.